I was majoring in political science, and I have nothing to do with the arts, but nobody wanted to take over this class, so I did. So I hope you can understand that if I make some mistakes or some flaws. Okay, well, when you talk about American art, do you have okay. It's not now.
So do I need to stay?
Okay, yeah, you can stay here and then help me. Yeah, okay. Let me go over here. Well, as you all know, American culture and art is actually carried out from Europe, and culture can be defined as many different fields like fashion, religion, food, mass media production, and sports. And the arts, as you know, music, visual art, architecture, theatric art, and literature. Next, please. Yeah. Well, this is kind of historical things, you guys pointed out very well that America is a melting pot and also in some ways cellar bowl, and it has a lot of multicultural backgrounds, as you all know. And the American settlement, you have to understand that Dutchies were starting from New York, at the time it was called New Amsterdam, and Pennsylvania by English Quakers, and Delaware by Swiss and Finns, and Scotch-Irish in 18th century. And actually the major immigrants started because of the big boat, big steam-powered ocean ship. And next, please. And you have to know that Navajo, Pueblo, Apaches in Arizona. I'm just trying to show you the concoction of many different races in the United States. Native Americans and Latin Americans, Mexicans, keep crossing over Rio Grande, and Afro-Americans. Slave trade. This is very important because tobacco plantation was in Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. And in early 17th, and for a rice plantation in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. This is very important because this became a very major factor, that consists of American, Afro-American, backgrounds, which will affect, a lot of music and movies and literature. And of course, Chinese were imported, from mainland, in order to build the Trans-Pacific Railroad. As you know, they call it Chinks. Next, please. Yeah. And the fashion, as you know, predominantly very casual. American style, when you think of fashion, is very casual. So these are the American designers, fashion designers: Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, and Michael Kors, Victoria's Secret. Of course, Victoria's Secret is underwear. And the reason, 75% Christians, Arab Christians, 50% is Protestant, and Catholic 25, Mormon is in Utah area, and 1.5% is Judaism, and 20% no religion. They no claim any religion. And food, fast foods, and casual style. Of course, American. When you think of American food, you think of a casual style. Hamburger, hot dog, anything you can carry out easily and you can eat, in a fresh time. And South style, it is called comfort food, fried and roast chicken, cream spinach and corn bread, and Texas Mex style. As you know, the Arizona and Mexico, New Mexico and Texas were a Spanish colony in the past, and Mexican influence, chili, burritos, taco, etc. And mass media production. Next. And I'm surprised, many of you already covered, most of the important, American arts. And when you think of American art, why it was formed, in American way. So I, investigated, and it was actually from these three factors. The first one is Great Depression, because the size of painting was very small, in Europe. But just because of Great Depression, the federal government, started to fund, all the, unemployed, artists, and then they have some kind of a social works and big mural work, assisted by Rivera Diego, from Mexico, and a lot of commissioned the public, sculptures, and maybe they have big mural works in library and also school, and also on the highway. Mostly it's kind of propaganda things, but it was a very crucial thing to start in American way, because it became very huge. And also the during or after World War II, many European artists came to USA looking for a more stable environment. New York has become the mecca for international arts, replacing Paris. This is also very important, because I'm sure you guys know Bauhaus, movement in Germany, and Bauhaus, was started in Weimar in 1919, and the first, the president, principal of the Bauhaus school was the Walter Gropius, and he was an architect, but he wanted to make this Bauhaus school as the design school, and he was affected by constructivism in Russia, and as you know, Russian art is very practical and also beneficial for everyone, all the workers. So before Bauhaus, the European tradition was very, something like crazy, but they just like to be more practical. And many good, architects emigrate to United States during World War II. Of course, Walter Gropius, emigrated to United States, and also the third, principal, Miss van der Rohe. I think some of you have covered this Miss van der Rohe. He's very famous for the internationalism. Well, actually, Bauhaus, their phrase was internationalism. They just, make anything for international standard. And can you go back just one? Yeah. And contemporary arts, starting from here. There's also another good, teacher, Joseph Albers. He became a Black Mountain School. Black Mountain School is very, very important in American art, because a lot of famous American artists, were produced by Black Mountain School in North Carolina. So Black Mountain School is kind of center for American contemporary art. Many good artists like Robert Rosenberg and Cy Twombly and Frank Stella, and all these guys were from Black Mountain School. So at the time, any guys who has some kind of talent in art were just swarmed into Black Mountain School, and many teachers were, of course, from Europe, European countries, especially Germany. Joseph Albers is one of very famous teacher. He's a good educator, and he produced a lot of good artists later on. And another one Cunningham, very good dancer, contemporary dancer. Merce Cunningham, he's also very famous in dancing art. And also, well, by the way, a lot of homosexuals were into this school, and Robert Rosenberg was also dating with Cy Twombly and all the other guys. And Merce Cunningham was dating with the very famous contemporary musician, composer. What's his name? I will tell you later. And this also affected contemporary art scenery, and now they are becoming more plural, reflecting a crisis in painting. They don't stick to the old-fashioned or conservative things anymore. So they just switch it to all different mass media when they try to portray. So these three things are very important for American new happening or beginning for new arts. Okay, next please.
Professor, would you like to just go through the images? We have just more 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So,
Well, you can just read over. Yeah. Can you go back to jazz? I hope you can just read slowly for an explanation on jazz, because in jazz there are 3 very important factors that define jazz. One is a syncopation, and another one is call and response. But there's no call and response here because the call and response tradition came from African traditional music, and syncopation, you just pause and one beat, off beat, So these are the 3 characteristics of jazz, and these are the jazz musicians. You can. I'm gonna put this up in Asia Institute, website, so you can take it, or I can send you email later on each of you. Okay, and the next. This is country musicians, rock and roll, yeah, pop, hip hop. Yeah.